When I was in school, I was good at some subjects and fared poorly at others. At times, I would do better at them, depending on the teaching quality. I was good at English. But it struck me the other day while preparing for this story that none of my English teachers during 13-14 years of schooling life ever encouraged us to write. Yes, the syllabi stuff, but nothing for ourselves. That you could write a diary, you could try writing a story. I used to write these ridiculously juvenile but terribly sweet poems, and besides an absent-minded nod, nothing more was done. Perhaps we were asked, when I say we, there were a couple of people who were good at the subject. So, what have you written? And yeah, maybe there was this teacher in class 7 who was quite encouraging, but except her, nobody ever took any notice. They were not interested. As long as the schoolwork was done, okay. I know how much pressure they dealt with and how much of work they had to get done. But I wonder if some of my then classmates were capable of more, but were never discovered. The story I'm going to read today is something I wrote a few years back. It is a humor piece. I hope you like it. The girl with the yellow teeth, inferior genes, and birthday parties. I was born with yellow teeth, or they got jaundiced over a period of time. So I was this fair, thin girl with a set of gloriously yellow teeth. Therefore, while growing up, the responses to my namastes and hellos were rarely a pat or a smile. There were questioning glances, and after long pregnant pauses, the obvious question, "Don't you brush your teeth?" For years, I thought that perhaps inquiring about dental hygiene was an integral part of pleasantries exchange. And I even attempted to do my contribution by asking such a beautiful question to people, but my mother, ya Allah. But I did ask the question, even she couldn't stop me. To my father, that's a different tangent. Then over the next few years, I realized, or rather my tube light of a brain finally started to function, rather than flutter, that people were just rude to me. Kids are mean, but they're honest and they're abrupt. However, their parents, they would graphically and publicly discuss the horrid state of my teeth, on my face, in my presence. And I would think, of course, your kids are rude. Look at their source of origin. Now, if these kids were kind and their parents not, then I would have thought. The tangent I was talking about my father. So, kids inherit features, habits, diseases. Sometimes the more fortunate ones get beauty and an apartment on Nariman Point from their parents. I got the worst mix, the absolute worst. I'll tell you in gory details. My mother has the prettiest long fingers and the worst possible nose, flat as a stale potato fritter. No, not the shiny luminous aloo pakoda, but a stale potato fritter. The best set of teeth. Hit a raw nerve. The most beautiful beetle-shaped eyes and the limpest hair. Baba, on the other hand, is so fair that when he bends down to tie his shoelaces and sits up again, he turns pink, as if his face, the bride, was just massively complimented by the shoe, the groom, and he blushed and turned a shade. He was, once upon a time in Uttarpara, West Bengal, a legendary handsome man with a head full of curly mop and fatal communist loyalties. Now he is just a lover, Pranab Mukherjee doppelganger. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. You ask Baba to get a spoon or bowl from kitchen, and 10 out of 10 times he will invariably tell you from there that he can't find anything. Didi would always tell him while eating or walking up to him in the kitchen to look for things in drawers and cabinets and not stare at walls and empty spaces. You know, Baba, things still don't suspend in thin air. What were you expecting looking up? Revelio spoon, Revelio katori, and bam! Bowl ke saath chammach, muft, muft, muft. I digress. Though he has the sharpest looking nose, the hawk-like pointed beauty, on the other hand, he also has the smallest pairs of hands and eyes you will ever see. His eyes close when he laughs hard, which is like all the time, and nothing fits in his hands except his favorite paper clips. It is like somebody intentionally played a cruelty game with him. Poor man, right? Wrong. No, poor me, because I was supposed to get his hair, which is now gone, because my father is bald, her eyes, his nose, her teeth, her hands, and her dusky complexion. Instead, I got her hair, his eyes, her nose, his teeth, his hands, and his complexion. My shoes flirt with me every day. My eyes are called buttons. And who won the bumper prize of best combination of genes? My sister. With dusky skin, big wide eyes, curly hair, sharp nose, and amiable nature, she took full advantage of arriving before me. Bloody chromosomes of genes. Absolute worst combination possible. The curse of being the second child. Look at my hands. They are so inadequate that inadequacy doesn't fit in. My sister is one of the funniest people I know. She has always made me laugh. Don't be impressed. I'm humorously loose. Anyway, she studied in a convent till standard 10th, and she had this close knit of friends. School feasts, potlucks, and birthday parties. And who was the guest of honor at these parties? Myself. Because I was forced down Didi's throat by our irrepressible mother to be taken to such social events, but also because I was genuinely popular amongst her friends and classmates. You've heard me. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it was one of her friends' birthday parties, and we were obviously invited. Now, at that time, Didi was 11, 12. I was 5, 6. And while she went to be with her friends in a corner the moment we arrived, I was grilled for hours about my name, its meaning, length, and legacy. What I failed to understand then and now is people's incomprehension about my complete lack of participation in my naming process. People, I may look like this force of nature, but I was not consulted while naming me. No one asked me about my suggestions, approvals, or objections. No, they did not. Some enthusiastic uncles and aunties who had arrived with their kids for free dinner would then go on about the lack of cohesion between Didi's and my names. She is Antara, you are Priyadarshini. It doesn't match. You should have been named Tarana, Dhrupad, Chota or Bada Khayal, Reena Roy, swaying in black shiny gharara, singing Shisha ho ya dil ho. Oh yes, absolutely, I approve. I think I once shared my father's visiting card with one of these crazy bunnies to discuss and take this naming fiasco further and contemplate about the disastrous effects of mismatched names of siblings on the socio-political, economic state of country. No, I did not. Baba would have disinherited me for sharing his number with such lunatics. Anyway, back to the party. So, it is the most important cake cutting time. I have somehow navigated through the cheek-pulling tyrants and hungry as retrievers guests and strategically placed myself around the cake so that the moment it is cut and post wrongful distribution and destruction amongst birthday girl, emotional mummy papa, and undeserving weird poopa to sullen chachi, I should get this well-proportioned piece of victory. I mean cake. But where the hell is my sister? For everything I could kick her for, I couldn't eat without her. Kindness has always been my Achilles heel. I looked helter-skelter and found her in that rotten corner. I immediately looked back at the about to be cut cake and found the distance between the two and her ridiculously slow-mo shy walk falling short of a piece of heaven. I mean cake. Now the cake was being set up with candles, knife was being brought in, etc. So I still had about half a minute to summon her. And since this was the pre-DJ, CD, iPhone, YouTube 90s world, the cheesy music in the background was through the tape recorder that had all the possible favorite sound effects and music. Imagine a 5-6 years old, wrongly named yellow teeth girl calculating such complex mathematical problems of distance and speed at the speed of light. And then the solution came to me, that if I screamed to call her out, she could still make it to me and the final destination. I mean the cake. Yes, so I prepared to shout my lungs out with the blaring music to Didi, who was oblivious to upcoming noble deed, all selflessly dedicated to her. And as I forcefully screamed, "Didi, jaldi idhar aaja, cake katne wala hai," the tape recorder was switched off by Narad's wicked earthly form. People say pin drop silence. I say eye blink silence. Because as I smiled and grinned at Didi for my well thought, selfless and well timed act, everyone stared at her. Some stared at me too, but I was too giddy at my success to notice anybody. And my beautiful sister slowly turned pink. From there she took a red turn. A shade card for a sister. Somebody eventually did blink, because there were reverberations and waves of laughter across the room as Didi turned maroon. She was quite magical that day. The obvious question would be what happened next. Well, I don't remember much except that the cake was fresh, fluffy and fun. And I was dragged all the way back home by an elder sister who had now turned purple. By the way, she also draped a purple sari on her wedding day. Any connections whatsoever? You know how in mythological films or even the smashing mainstream Hindi films of 80s, the hero would bring the evil bhabhi to coy matriarch or the homebreaker girlfriend who lured the immoral horny bhaiya away from pyari bhabhi, pulling them by their wigs and throw them at the mercy and cracked feet of the Daya ki Devi, so pious that milk turned black, matriarch or bhabhi. I was thrown like that at Ma and categorically told by Didi that after my latest family shaming act of dishonor, I was to never accompany her anywhere. Cut to next birthday party. And who was asked to be the guest of honor? And you know what? When my vamp of a sister was told to bring me along with her to the party, she made some obscure excuse of Ma disallowing me from attending parties and all. But my sheep-faced sister didn't know that such was my popularity and her friends' inexplicable desperation to get me to their parties at any cost possible, that they came to meet Ma and expressly requested, stress on request, for I to be definitely sent with Didi, otherwise it wouldn't be any fun. Because I was cute, I was entertaining, I was Priyadarshini, even with my yellow teeth. Huh. Take that for better genes. I have birthday parties. The story has come to an end. As much as I'm anti-nostalgia, I do have a chuckle or two at times at my boundless abilities to do good for my sister. Didi has had a really tough time, and while I don't regret looking out for her, I do agree how embarrassing it all was. But I think that's what younger siblings are supposed to do. No? Anyway, tada for now. Let's meet for another story next time.